Hey gang, a little late to the party on this one because I actually have to work for a living, unlike other content creators. That was mean. That was unfair. Anyways, we got a letter from the chairman today. We got the Q&A on the Paladin. Galactapedia dropped earlier this week, and we've got some drama going on, which I was hoping would have died off by now. It usually does by this time in the cycle, but who knows? I'll try to use a sexier voice for y'all and make it worth your while. Let's get this. Okay, so first up, we have got the letter for the chairman here. I won't read the whole thing to you. I just want to point out one of the things that Heath Glees of the Carnival pointed out to me, and it is right here, right in the third paragraph. For the first time in our history, we will run 2 live releases in parallel, each with their own progress and persistence. This means you'll have the unique opportunity to choose which version you want to dive into, at least for a little while. At this stage, we both want and need the high traffic of a live release to thoroughly test server meshing and the newly refactored systems that rely on it as they go through their final paces. So, what does that mean for us? That means they're going to keep running 3.24.3, which is the build that we have right now, and they're going to run a quote-unquote live version of 4.0. This isn't quite what I was hoping they were going to do, but this actually makes more sense. What I was thinking they could do is just keep 3.2.4.3 in as the PTU build until they get back from vacation, and just keep 4.0 in the PTU. This is kind of an interesting compromise, because if it's live, that means that there's not going to be a progress wipe. I honestly don't know why anyone would stick in 3.2.4.3, since any progress in 3.2.4.3 will almost certainly be wiped. So if you're running the missions here, one of the reasons they're doing it this way is they have missions that aren't working in 4.0, but they want to make sure the server meshing is working. They're going to run 4.0, but just because people want to do missions, they're going to do 3.2.4.3. I'm wondering if that is the next level of slicer missions, like if they're going to roll out tier 5 of the slicer missions and run it in 3.2.4.3 and offer like a special reward for that, just for the people who kind of stick it around and play it. But I don't know why I said that weird, but there you go. 4.0 is going to be 4.0. So, I mean, yeah, you're getting pyro, you're getting jump points, you're getting server meshing. Pretty big deal. And I mean, CR says other things here, but that is the big part of this, is that they're going to be running 3.2.4.3 and 4.0 concurrently, which means that any progress you make in 4.0 should carry forward. I wouldn't think, unless there's like a giant exploit, they'll be wiping progress on 4.0 when they do 4.0.0x at the probably February. At this rate, they're all going to go on vacation, so I would expect this to drop tomorrow, if not tonight, and then they're all going to go on vacation, and God help the servers. We'll see what happens. But anyway, that was a letter from the chairman. That's the big piece of it. There's other stuff in there that's worth reading. Anytime CR pokes his head out and starts talking, not a bad idea to listen, because the guy does have something to do with this project. Let's push on to the Galactapedia. Now, I'm not going to read all of this to you. I just feel like Sherry deserves some props. Like, if you ever wonder where Paul, Astropub, and Algored, all those guys get all their information from, it's typically these short articles and the fluff that the lore team puts out, their writers. And Sherry's been working on the Galactapedia, I think, for 6 or 7 years. She's like one of their original lore team people. And these are always really interesting. You can find, it kind of reminds me of a very well written D&D sort of campaign thing where every location has like a little hook or a little mystery or something that makes you read and go, huh, you know, that sounds kind of cool. I want to go check that out. Just a sign of good writing, which this project does have. For all its other faults, it does have that. So let's push on to Q&A on the Paladin. Nothing too shocking here at all. The loner is the Redeemer. Yeah, that makes sense. The Redeemer of the two, the Paladin's going to be slow and tanky. The Redeemer is going to be agile. So you're going to be able to get those guns around. Regarding the VTOLs, Paladin has enough VTOL power to handle adequately in atmosphere and maintain its position above the target. So this is another loitering ship. So you can sort of see there, all its guns are pointed down. Engineering room, there's a room at the upper deck, engineering room where all this stuff is. Yeah, however, some components such as the radar, life support, gravity generator are located in other areas of the ship. In other words, this will probably not be the kind of ship that you're running around and fixing things on the fly, that by the time you're taking that kind of damage, you should probably be getting out of the fight. Escape pods, yes, of course it has escape pods. It's not a Drake ship. How does it compare to the Redeemer? Both are gunships. They have different takes on that role and play style. The recent changes to the Redeemer's turret weapon and shield sizes are offset by a significant boost of maneuverability. This allows the Paladin to occupy the tanker gunship role. Both ships have strengths and weaknesses. The Paladin trading agility for raw firepower and speed for armor, allowing players to choose the ship that fits their playstyle. The handling of the Paladin will be like the Redeemer was before the recent changes, which is more befitting a ship its size and shape versus the much more compact Redeemer. And unlike the Redeemer, the Paladin has no modular room, which is still planned for the Redeemer's lower floor. There was, I think it was a fan concept image, or the guys that originally did the Redeemer. If you don't know, the Redeemer was made by the community. It was the next great starship. They had the community design the spaceship. And of course, they designed a super gunboat that has everything, including a kitchen sink in it. I'm surprised they didn't make it a racer. But anyway, I'm not bitter. The one that I wanted didn't win. But anyway, there was a drawing of the Redeemer that instead of having the troop transport room, it had a place where it could hoist up a vehicle, like a Cyclone or something. It was a really cool idea. Almost turned it into the dropship from Alien. When will the Paladin start production? It's currently in its white box production phase, so that is interesting. So we might be seeing the Paladin at the end of this year, maybe? Sort of depends on how fast they move. The Redeemer is supposed to have sophisticated shields, but they are size 2. Why does the Paladin have size 3 when its focus is on armor? A ship's shield size does not confer any sophistication bonus, but instead alters factors such as shield health capacity and resistance to damage types. Generally, the larger the size, the larger the pool. However, having multiple smaller shields can be a bonus in terms of redundancy and regeneration rates over fewer larger items. In this case, 6 size 2 shield generators versus a single size 3 generator. Interesting. And all of that will be changing when armor rolls in. And that's really the thing that you gotta kind of consider with this, is that this is just kind of their best guess on how this ship will work. When it actually rolls out, they're gonna have to balance it against everything else in the game, and who the hell knows what's gonna happen then. But this is where we're at right now. The one thing that I wish they wouldn't have backtracked on right now, if you're a pilot in here, you control these 2 side guns, or you can control it. I think a lot like the Redeemer, you have to have people in those manned turrets. They should have kept it that no, the pilot flies. This is controlled by one gunner. This is controlled by another gunner. And that's controlled by a third gunner. So you need 4 people to make this ship really hum. Just with ships that start getting into this role and this size, they really should be encouraging people to play with multiple people. Unpopular opinion for me. Let's see. Do the pilot's wing weapons play as gimbaled when not remotely manned by the dedicated gunner? Yes. If there's nobody in the seats that control the wing weapons, then the pilot has control of them, albeit locked in the forward arc. Due to their location, their convergence is limited frontally, so they are only suitable for targets at mid to long distance. However, when independently controlled, they have full freedom of motion and can look pretty much in a full 180-degree arc in all directions, allowing players to engage targets below, above, and behind. Yeah, it's a compromise. I could live with that. Can we replace any weapons on the Paladin? Yeah, of course you can. Let's see if there's anything else in here. Long range, it's got roughly the same range as a Valkyrie, which makes sense. This would play very well rolling out with the Valkyrie to kind of claim an area. But anyway, let's move on because there was drama, which I was kind of hoping would have blown over by now. They've started to cool down a little bit, but the whole PvP and PvE thing, Avenger 1 rolled in on his take, and I largely agree with it to a point. One of the things I disagree with Avenger 1 on is his belief that everyone should engage in PvP just so that they know how to do it. The problem is that to become even passable in PvP, especially dogfighting and stuff like that, it takes a considerable amount of time. And if you're talking about people, I would guess the average age of people playing this game is probably in their 40s, probably have kids, probably have a full-time job. That's not everybody, but I would assume that would be the top of the bell curve. These aren't people that have 10 hours a day to sit on a video game and learn how to be a dogfighter when all they want to do is chill at the end of the night and go mine a couple rocks. What my suggestion would be, one of the things that Avenger 1 said that I do agree with, is he said, find your tribe. This is a massively multiplayer game. This is not a single player game. So the fact that you don't want to play with other players doesn't mean that other players aren't going to use you as a thing to play with. So just keep that in mind. There are plenty of people in this game that will have the same views you do that might just quietly chill next to you. There are even people out there that have like a strong interest in PvP that see themselves as paladins. Like, I mean, traditional protect the weak, protect the people who can't defend themselves kind of a thing, not the ship. And if you can pay them, they will probably stick around. They might even stick around just to get in fights. Who knows? But finding other people, probably worth your while. At this point in the game, I mean, for the last, basically since 2014, you could play this game completely on your own and get a fair amount of enjoyment out of it. You're not missing a whole lot. I always felt that this game really shined and was worthwhile, and I didn't burn out when I was playing with other people, just because even the bugs you can laugh at that point, that you're not losing hours of your time. You're spending that time with other people. But I can understand that not everybody is an extrovert. Not everybody wants to spend their free time dealing with strangers on the internet. So still, I would say at this point in the game, it might not be a bad idea to start looking around, maybe find a few people that are serving the same brain space as you are, or find groups that like defending people and reaching out. or join the Carnival. Anyway, we have had a couple patch watches. I thought I would go over a few of these. We'll just blast through this real quick since this is already pushing 15 minutes pre-edit. But they've been pushing these out where they're just kind of talking about quantum speeds, all of that. That one was, I think they've already gone back on some of their quantum things. They're talking about loot and the contested zones. The contested zones are going to be purely PvP. And I do kind of agree that in a massively multiplayer game, you should reward the people who are engaging directly with other players, and that's what these things do. I could also see this as being the kind of thing that if you want some of that loot, you could just say to someone in chat, hey, I'm going to do this contested zone. Does anyone want to join me? And 4 randos get together and go into the contested zone. Of course, it could be the kind of thing where posting that up in chat would be a lot like, is Jumptown safe? And right then a bunch of people are like, oh, it's not now. Like, you go ahead, you get there, and we're going to blow you up. This will be fun for us. Yeah, remember that whole PvP, PvE thing? Yeah, I'm kind of regretting that discussion now. But anyway, yeah, look at that armor. Iridescent. They need to give us some options for customizations. That looks like the kind of thing that you'd find on a car in the 90s. It's a hypercolor gun. That is not something I would think of as pyro. The older ones of you will get the hypercolor reference. Carrick's New Groove. Again, we're going to be rolling out Pariah, which is about the Carrick. And we're going to kind of do a... It's not 0 to hero. Let's call it a 1.0 to hero, because we're going to be going out in a Carrick and trying to actually play the game that, from what they've told us so far, is what it will be eventually. So kind of doing it on hard mode for ourselves, as in you can only wear a flight suit or clothing when you're piloting the ship or sitting in any of the seats. You can't wear armor until you're actually like out of those seats, that kind of thing. Not repairing at stations. We're going to bring salvage guns and make sure that we, barring bugs, which yes, there will definitely be bugs, we'll be repairing with the salvage guns if at all possible, and kind of cutting ourselves off from the other members of the Carnival as far as like, oh crap, we're in trouble, everybody pile on kind of a thing. We'll have a couple outs for that, but we're going to try to play it straight as possible, as straight as the game will let us. But anyway, FOIP improvement should be pretty cool. Weird thing, I have an Elgato camera that I use specifically for FOIP, and it doesn't work very well, so I'm going to switch up to another camera, so I'll tell you how that goes. And then we got the latest patch watch where they're talking about the economy facelift. This is a cool one. I want to say that the cool part was here, unique resource distribution. So this is for you miners out there, and I believe they're going to do this with actual trade too. This is one of those things where make the trade locations, make the commodities make sense. This is a step in that direction. And this whole article, I'll put a link to all 3 of these patch watch things down in the description down below if you want to read them. But this says right here, unique resource distribution. The Pyro system's resource distribution is shaped by its distinct environmental factors. Temperature rings. Pyro is divided into zones on proximity to its star. Closer to the star, temperatures rise, while the outer regions grow colder. For example, ice is more abundant in the cooler outskirts of the system. Density variations. Dense base materials are typically found in warmer regions, whereas lighter, porous materials like ice and silicon are more common in the colder outer zones. Some details have been intentionally left for you to discover, so prepare your mining ship, venture into Pyro, and uncover its wealth of resources firsthand. Happy prospecting. So the cool thing about that, one of the things that we're going to do in Pariah is trying to build up our rep with the Citizens for Prosperity. I should probably learn their name. The quote unquote neutral good guys in Pyro will probably be the one that we align with. But anyway, we're going to try to build up a rep with them, and we're going to be scouting things out for other members of the carnival. So if we start finding, hey, this is a good zone with a bunch of minables, we'll tell the people in the carnival, come to this location and good rocks abound. Or if we start finding wrecks in space or panels, because panel salvaging is back in 4.0. Yeah, should be good stuff. And then they've got more character faces, I believe. Let's see. 20 new heads to the DNA pool. I actually haven't tested that yet. I didn't actually look at that. So that will be interesting. I doubt I'll remake my character now because I kind of like the way it looks. It looks like me if I lost 20 pounds, which I kind of appreciate, and was 20 years younger. But anyway. That is all I got for this one, gang. If you have any opinions on any of them thar things, let me know in the down below bits. I will be happy to hear it, especially that PvP versus PvE thing, because nobody has an opinion on that. Catch you next time.